Dutch founder Linde's mental decline in Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the most compelling and tragic character unravelings in modern gaming. At the start of the story, Dutch still carries much of the charisma, intelligence, and fatherly confidence that made him such a strong leader in the gang's early years. He speaks passionately about freedom, loyalty, and the dream of living outside society's control. But even in those early moments, you can sense cracks beneath the surface. Moments where his pride is a little too fragile, and his decisions a little too impulsive. The failed Blackwater ferry robbery sets the first major fracture, leaving Dutch wounded not physically but psychologically. He begins the game desperate to reassert control, convinced that one more successful score will put everything back in place. Dutch's decline becomes more noticeable as the gang settles in Valentine and later Horseshoe Overlook. He starts making choices driven more by emotion than strategy. While he still presents himself as a thinker, his ability to reason is slipping. The more pressure he feels, mounting Pinkerton pursuit, the weight of providing for the gang, and the guilt he refuses to acknowledge, the more he doubles down on risky ideas. Instead of adjusting to reality, Dutch becomes obsessed with proving he hasn't lost his edge. That stubbornness grows into a dangerous blend of ego and paranoia, pushing him into actions that someone in full control of his mind would never consider. One of the clearest moments showing Dutch's unraveling is the situation with the Greys and Braithwaites. He convinces himself that he can manipulate two feuding families, believing he's still the master chess player he once was. But instead of outsmarting anyone, he leads the gang into tragedy, failing to see traps that would have been obvious to the Dutch of years past. The abduction of Jack, one of the most emotional moments in the game, happens because Dutch misjudges the situation entirely. Rather than reflect on what he missed, he reacts with fury, masking insecurity with bravado. Every failure feeds into his need to blame someone else instead of confronting the very real decline happening inside him. As the story moves into St. Denis, Dutch's instability skyrockets. His reliance on people like Angelo Bronte shows how desperate he's become. He allows himself to be manipulated, humiliated, and then lashes out violently in response. His drowning of Bronte is the breaking point for many gang members. That moment isn't the action of a strong, composed leader. It's the impulsive revenge of a man whose grip on his own identity is slipping. Arthur, who once admired Dutch above anyone else, sees firsthand how Dutch is no longer guided by ideals. He's now guided by fear, pride, and the determination to appear unbroken at any cost. Guarma pushes Dutch into an even darker place. Isolated from familiar surroundings and forced into survival mode, his paranoia intensifies. Real or imagined threats begin to blend together, and he starts interpreting even the actions of loyal gang members as challenges to his authority. His relationship with Arthur deteriorates rapidly because Arthur sees truths Dutch refuses to face. Instead of acknowledging his mistakes, Dutch grows more erratic and more accusatory. He clings to Micah Bell, exactly the type of person he would have despised in earlier years, because Micah feeds his ego and validates his increasingly distorted worldview. By the time the gang reaches Beaver Hollow, Dutch is a shadow of his former self. His iconic speeches no longer inspire, they feel hollow, repetitive, and desperate. Arthur and others begin noticing that Dutch lies easily, even casually, something the early Dutch rarely did. His decisions become more violent and less strategic. The plan with the army, the dynamite, the robbery ideas that no longer make sense, all reflect a man spiraling into delusion. He stops caring about the people he once called family. He stops caring about loyalty unless it benefits him. He becomes willing to sacrifice the very gang he once protected with everything he had. The height of Dutch's decline comes in his refusal to rescue John during the train heist, and later when he outright abandons Arthur on the mountainside. These moments show Dutch's mind fully fracturing. He's no longer driven by dreams of freedom. He's driven by prideful survival. Losing control terrifies him so much that he'd rather let loyal friends die than admit he was wrong. His trust in Micah, the whispers in the gang, and the paranoia of being betrayed all merge into one final collapse of the man he once was. Yet Dutch's decline isn't simple villainy. It's a tragedy. he wasn't always like this. The game hints at a long past of trauma, loss, and overwhelming responsibility. He carried the burden of leading a gang that depended entirely on him, and the world around him was changing faster than he could adapt. Dutch wasn't built for that kind of pressure, and instead of evolving, he broke under it. His downfall is the fall of an idealist who couldn't face his own humanity.